So if you know a better way of getting set up, just let me know in the comments. This or variations of this for me and many other players work really well. So let's talk about a few steps to this process. This is going to be my target line. Now, importantly, your target line, where you want the ball to kind of go or what you're aiming for, doesn't have to be the flag or the middle of the fairway. If you slice the ball, you should not be aiming for the middle. You aim left. My shots go left, my bad shots. So let's say the flag is on the left-hand side of the green. I do not aim for the flag. I aim to the right of it and I play to my pattern of shots. You should all do the same. While you're working on improving that pattern, play to it, you'll save shots straight away. So if I'm hitting an iron, 150 yards, whatever, and the flag's a bit on the left, my target will be to the right of that. Play to your pattern number one. When you get the club out the bag and you get hands on it, try and do it in the air, particularly for beginners. If you're working your grip, get the grip done here, most of it. Get yourself kind of comfortable. You might adjust when it's on the ground, but get your hands on in the air. The reason we don't like the club on the ground and then people putting their hand on, it goes straight into the palm. In your palm is very weak, slow, no control. So try and do your grip in the air, and then we'll talk about the next bit after that. So to choose this target line, you'll see players stand behind the golf ball and kind of draw a line with their club at the target. And then they'll bring their gaze back down that line and pick something close or in line, but close to the ball within the first yard or so, in the same direction as their eventual target that they're aiming for. Luckily here, we've got a bright yellow stick and orange stick there. If we follow that line, that might be middle of the green, let's say, or right-hand side of the green, whatever you're aiming for. But I get behind the ball. I've got my spot in the distance, let's call it middle of the green. Trace that back to something in front of the ball. It could be a divot, edge of a bunker, whatever. And that's what you aim for. Very difficult to aim for something 150 yards away, even 50 yards away. Much easier to aim for something that's close to you. So you've got your target line. You might have done some practice swings. You have some sort of routine maybe. But in terms of setting up, you've picked this. You've got your hands on the club. And then you get your club behind the ball first. You build your setup around your club. My pet hate is this. The ball is all the way over here. This matters much less than you think. And you definitely don't have to be train track parallel lines. You might be open, closed, depending on your movement or what you're working on, the flight you're trying to produce. This matters much less than getting this ready. So you've got your target line, or your spot you're aiming for. Your hands are on. I step in right foot first, so I like to start a bit more open. You might step in left foot first if you struggle with slicing the ball, and this is already a bit more closed. Up to you, but whatever you do, you get the club in there first. Even that leading edge doesn't have to be completely square. Mine starts slightly open because I want to start the ball to the right. You might have it closed, it doesn't matter. It might make it tricky for alignment-ish, but if you get the club behind the ball first, you're in a really good spot to then get your feet ready. Where these eventually go, particularly unless you're working on something, you might have to pull this foot back more, move the ball position. But if you get the club in there first, not many people do anything too weird. If you line your feet up first, and let's say that is my target in a distance, I'm trying to line up with that, what will happen, and the reason people slice the ball is, they're aiming their feet at that, they look up and they see the target to the left of their feet, and they'll swing over the top to try and hit the target. A lot of slices cause that way. So, you got your target, you got the club out the bag, your hands on. Club goes in there first, let the feet sort themselves out. As long as you're somewhat in the middle for the club you may be trying to hit, it could be further forward, further back, but if it's a mid-iron, generally in the middle for most people. And as long as this is quite consistent, and it will be if you put the club in there first. When people start doing this, then it gets a bit more inconsistent. For consistency, build your setup around the club, and you'll find there's less to worry about. Now, how far back do I stand? Most players, most sports people that are half decent, if you get the club in there first, you'll be there or thereabouts. You won't be too far off. So, pick your target line, get your hands on, build your setup around the club, and after that, if there's some sort of practice swing or whatever, that's fine. But the key things are target line, or pick your spot on that target line, get your hands on first, get the club behind the ball. This is last. And it might be, like I said, you might have a preference in what you're working on as to how you stand, but you won't be miles away from something quite neutral. That's the routine. Give it a go if you don't already. You probably should, and you'll find your setup is a lot more consistent. It's one less thing to worry about when you play.